The Flawed Promise of Time Management and the Dawn of Mind Management. The Hamster Wheel of Productivity. Do you ever reach the end of a long workday feeling utterly drained, yet strangely unproductive? You meticulously planned your day, blocked out time slots, tackled your to-do list with fierce determination, answered emails promptly, attended meetings, and perhaps even worked late. You managed your time down to the minute. Yet, the breakthrough idea remains elusive, the crucial project draft feels uninspired, and the deep, meaningful work you crave seems perpetually just out of reach. You're running faster and faster on the productivity hamster wheel, optimizing every second, but the destination, impactful, creative, satisfying work, seems no closer. If this resonates, you're not alone. You've likely fallen prey to the pervasive myth that the key to unlocking peak performance, especially in creative and knowledge-based fields, lies solely in mastering time. David Kadavy's transformative book, Mind Management, Not Time Management, argues compellingly that this focus is fundamentally flawed. He posits that the true bottleneck isn't the scarcity of time, but the finite, fluctuating, and often misunderstood nature of our mental energy and attention. Welcome to the paradigm shift. It's time to stop managing the clock and start managing your mind. Beyond the assembly line, why time management fails creative work. David Kadavy, an author, podcaster, and creative entrepreneur himself, experienced the limitations of traditional time management firsthand. He diligently applied popular techniques, time boxing, getting things done, GTD, prioritizing matrices, yet found they often hindered rather than helped his creative process, particularly writing. This personal struggle led him to a profound realization. The principles underpinning most modern time management systems are relics of the Industrial Revolution, designed for the predictable, repetitive tasks of an assembly line. On an assembly line, output is directly proportional to time spent. More hours worked equals more widgets produced. Consistency and adherence to schedule are paramount. However, knowledge work, and especially creative work, operates under entirely different principles. Writing a groundbreaking chapter, designing an innovative product, solving a complex problem, or devising a clever marketing strategy isn't like assembling a widget. It's nonlinear, unpredictable, and heavily dependent on specific mental states. You can't simply schedule a brilliant insight for 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Forcing creative tasks into rigid time slots designed for factory efficiency often leads to frustration, burnout, and subpar results. You might sit dutifully at your desk during your scheduled writing time, but if your mind isn't in the right state, if you lack the specific type of mental energy required for generating ideas or refining prose, the time spent yields little value. It's like trying to chop wood with a screwdriver. You have the tool time and the material task, but the tool is entirely wrong for the job at hand. Kadavy argues that the real currency of modern work isn't minutes and hours, but mental energy, focus, and creative insight. These resources are far more volatile and precious than time. They ebb and flow throughout the day, influenced by factors like sleep, nutrition, mood, and the natural rhythms of our brains. Therefore, the key to unlocking peak performance and producing high-quality, meaningful work lies not in squeezing more tasks into less time, but in understanding, cultivating, and strategically deploying our mental resources. Mind Management, Not Time Management, provides a compelling framework and practical strategies for doing just that. This first part of the summary will delve into Kadavy's critique of traditional time management, introduce the core principles of mind management, explore the crucial role of energy cycles, and unpack his framework of the 7 mental states of creative work. Understanding the landscape of the mind. 1. Deconstructing the time management myth. Kadavy begins by systematically dismantling the assumptions underlying traditional time management. He highlights several key reasons why these systems fail the modern knowledge worker. The illusion of control. Time management often gives a false sense of control. We can schedule tasks, but we cannot schedule inspiration, focus, or the specific cognitive state needed to perform a task optimally. Trying to force a particular type of mental work when our brain isn't receptive is inefficient and stressful. Ignoring energy variance. Time is constant. An hour is always 60 minutes. Mental energy, however, is highly variable. We have periods of peak cognitive function, troughs of mental fatigue, and intermediate states. Traditional time management treats all hours as equal, failing to account for the fact that an hour of focused work during peak energy might yield 10 times the results of an hour spent fighting brain fog. The nonlinearity of creative output. Creative breakthroughs often don't correlate directly with time invested. Sometimes, the best ideas emerge after stepping away from the problem, during periods of rest or incubation. Rigid schedules can stifle this process. Progress isn't always linear. It can involve periods of exploration, seeming dead ends, and sudden leaps forward. The factory model hangover. As mentioned, these systems were born from a need for efficiency in repetitive, predictable tasks. Applying this model to tasks requiring complex problem-solving, divergent thinking, or nuanced communication is fundamentally misguided. Knowledge work requires flexibility, adaptability, and alignment with internal mental states, not just external schedules. 2. Introducing mind management, the new frontier. Having established the shortcomings of the old paradigm, Kadavy introduces mind management. This isn't about discarding schedules entirely, but about shifting the primary focus. Mind management is the practice of understanding and optimizing your mental state to align the right type of cognitive energy with the right type of task. Key principles include energy as the primary resource. Recognize that your ability to focus, generate ideas, solve problems, and execute tasks depends on finite mental energy. Protecting and strategically allocating this energy becomes the top priority. Awareness of mental states. Different tasks require different cognitive functions, e.g., brainstorming versus editing versus responding to emails. Mind management involves identifying these different mental states and recognizing when your brain is best suited for each. Working with your brain, not against it. Instead of forcing your brain to comply with an arbitrary schedule, mind management encourages working in harmony with its natural rhythms and capacities. This means scheduling demanding creative work during peak energy periods and saving less demanding tasks for energy troughs. Prioritizing conditions for focus. Creating an environment, both internal and external, conducive to the desired mental state is crucial. This involves minimizing distractions, managing stress, and actively cultivating focus. 3. Harnessing your natural energy cycles, ultradian rhythms and chronotypes. A cornerstone of mind management is understanding biological rhythms. Kadavy emphasizes the importance of ultradian rhythms. Beyond the 24-hour circadian rhythm governing sleep, our bodies also operate on shorter cycles throughout the day, known as ultradian rhythms. These typically last 90 to 120 minutes, and consist of a period of rising energy and focus followed by a period of decline, where the brain needs rest and recovery. Pushing through the trough leads to diminishing returns and burnout. Recognizing these cycles allows you to structure work in focus bursts, e.g., 60 to 90 minutes, followed by short breaks, 10 to 20 minutes, for mental recharging. This is more aligned with our natural capacity for sustained attention than attempting hours of unbroken concentration. Chronotypes. People have different natural inclinations for wakefulness and peak alertness, commonly known as larks, morning people, owls, evening people, and intermediate types. Trying to force an owl to do their most demanding creative work at 6 a.m. simply because a productivity guru recommends it is counterproductive. Mind management advocates for identifying your personal chronotype and scheduling your most important, energy-intensive work during your innate biological peak performance window. This requires self-observation and honesty about when you truly feel most alert, creative, and focused. Tracking energy levels throughout the day for a week or two can provide invaluable insights. 4. The 7 mental states of creative work. Perhaps the most practical framework Kadavy offers is his identification of distinct mental states required for different phases of creative or knowledge work. While the exact list might vary slightly in his discussions, a comprehensive view includes states like generate. This is the state for brainstorming, ideation, free-writing, and producing raw material. It requires an open, non-judgmental mind, high energy, and divergent thinking. Trying to edit while generating stifles creativity. This state thrives on exploration and quantity over quality initially. Optimal time, often during high-energy periods, perhaps after rest. Prioritize. This state involves evaluating ideas, making decisions, and setting direction. It requires clarity, analytical thinking, and strategic insight. You need to assess the generated material, select the best paths forward, and define goals. Optimal time, often when mentally clear, possibly mid-morning after initial energy peaks. Research. This state focuses on gathering information, learning, and exploring existing knowledge. It can involve reading, interviewing, searching databases, or observing. The energy requirement can vary, but it needs focused attention. Optimal time can often be done during moderate energy levels, but requires focus to avoid rabbit holes. Outline. This state involves structuring ideas, organizing information logically, and creating a blueprint for the final piece. It requires sequential thinking and the ability to see the bigger picture. Optimal time needs clear thinking, perhaps after research is complete, during a period of focused energy. Write draft create. This is the state of translating the outline and research into a first version. It often requires sustained focus and the ability to silence the inner critic temporarily to get words on the page or ideas into form. Optimal time often needs significant focused energy, but the type of energy might be different from generate, more directed, less exploratory. Edit refine polish. This state involves critically evaluating the draft, improving clarity, correcting errors, and enhancing quality. It requires attention to detail, analytical skills, and a critical eye. Trying to edit with a generate mindset leads to rewriting instead of refining. Optimal time can often be done effectively when energy is lower but focus remains sharp, as it requires less creative spark and more meticulous attention. Administrate. This state covers routine, low cognitive load tasks like answering emails, scheduling meetings, paying bills, or organizing files. These tasks don't require deep creative thinking or intense focus. Optimal time best reserved for low-energy periods, e.g., post-lunch dip, end of the day, to preserve peak energy for more demanding work. Understanding these distinct states is revolutionary. Instead of a monolithic block called work, you start seeing a portfolio of different cognitive demands. The goal of mind management is to match the task not just to a time slot, but to the appropriate mental state and corresponding energy level. You wouldn't try to brainstorm generate when you're feeling mentally drained and critical edit mode. Conversely, trying to meticulously edit when your mind is buzzing with new ideas generate mode is equally inefficient. Laying the foundation for mindful productivity. Part 1 of Mind Management, Not Time Management, lays a crucial foundation. It challenges the deeply ingrained belief that time is the ultimate lever for productivity, particularly in creative and knowledge work. David Kadavy compellingly argues that the industrial-era model of time management is ill-suited for the nonlinear, energy-dependent nature of modern work. By introducing the concept of mind management, he shifts the focus to our most valuable and volatile resources: mental energy, attention, and cognitive states. Understanding our natural energy cycles, ultradian rhythms and chronotypes, and recognizing the distinct requirements of different mental states: generate, prioritize, research, outline, write, edit, administrate, are the first critical steps towards a more effective, sustainable, and fulfilling way of working. We explored why the old way fails, and what the new paradigm looks like. We've seen that the goal isn't just to be busy, but to be effective by aligning our tasks with the optimal internal conditions. Before moving on to the practical implementation strategies in Part 2, take some time for self-reflection. For the next week, consciously observe your own energy levels throughout the day. When do you feel most alert and creative? When do you experience dips in focus or energy? Keep a simple log. Rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10 every hour or two. Alongside this, start identifying the type of mental work you are doing. Are you brainstorming, drafting, editing, researching, or handling administrative tasks? Note which activities feel effortless or engaging at certain times, and which feel like pulling teeth at others. This initial awareness is the bedrock upon which you can build a personalized mind management practice. Don't try to change anything yet, just observe. The insights you gain will be invaluable as we explore, in Part 2, the practical techniques for structuring your work, managing your attention, and creating the conditions for peak mental performance. Get ready to move from theory to practice and truly start managing your mind. Implementing mind management, strategies for sustainable creative flow. From theory to traction, making mind management work for you. Understanding the why behind mind management is enlightening. Recognizing your energy cycles and different mental states, as discussed in Part 1, feels like discovering a hidden map to your own productivity. But maps are useless if you don't know how to navigate the terrain. The crucial question remains: how do you translate this understanding into tangible, daily practices that actually lead to better work, less stress, and more creative breakthroughs? How do you move from acknowledging the theory to actively structuring your days, managing distractions, and cultivating the right mental environment for the task at hand? It's one thing to know you should write during your peak energy. It's another to consistently create the conditions for that to happen amidst the chaos of emails, meetings, and unexpected demands. If Part 1 revealed the landscape of the mind, Part 2 provides the compass, tools, and techniques needed to traverse it effectively. Building the Mind Management Toolkit. In the first part of this summary, we explored David Kadavy's central argument in Mind Management, Not Time Management, the limitations of traditional time-centric productivity systems, and the power of shifting focus to managing our mental energy and cognitive states. We unpack the importance of understanding energy cycles, ultradian rhythms, chronotypes, and identify the distinct mental states required for creative and knowledge work: generate, prioritize, research, outline, write, edit, administrate. Now, we transition from the conceptual framework to actionable strategies. Part 2 delves into the practical application of mind management principles. We will explore Kadavy's advice on preparing your mind and environment. Clearing the runway. Techniques for protecting and directing your precious attention, methods for effectively capturing fleeting ideas, strategies for structuring your work around mental states rather than just the clock, the counterintuitive power of downtime and incubation, and how mind management helps overcome procrastination and resistance. This part equips you with the practical tools needed to integrate mind management into your daily routine and unlock a more sustainable and potent form of productivity. Actionable strategies for peak mental performance. 1. Clearing the runway. Preparing for deep work. Kadavy uses the powerful metaphor of clearing the runway to describe the preparatory steps needed before engaging in demanding cognitive work, much like an airport runway must be clear before a plane can take off. Deep focus and creative flow don't just happen. They require intentional preparation to minimize friction and potential interruptions. This involves clearing obstacles in 3 key areas. Physical environment. Your workspace significantly impacts your mental state. Clearing the runway physically means decluttering your desk, ensuring you have necessary tools at hand, pens, paper, specific software open, adjusting lighting and temperature for comfort, and minimizing potential visual distractions. It's about creating a space that signals to your brain, it's time to focus. This might involve setting up different workspaces optimized for different types of tasks, e.g., a cozy chair for brainstorming, a clean desk for focused writing. Digital environment. In today's world, the digital landscape is often the biggest source of friction. Clearing the digital runway involves closing unnecessary browser tabs, turning off notifications, email, social media, chat apps, putting your phone on silent or out of sight, and potentially using website blockers or focus apps. It's about proactively eliminating the digital temptations that fragment attention before they have a chance to derail you. Mental environment. Perhaps the most crucial aspect is clearing internal clutter. This involves getting nagging thoughts, worries, and open loops out of your head. Techniques include brain dumping, spending 5 to 10 minutes writing down everything on your mind, tasks, anxieties, reminders, before starting a focus session. This frees up mental bandwidth. Pre-planning. Deciding specifically what you will work on before the session starts reduces decision fatigue and prevents wasting valuable focus time figuring out where to begin. Mindfulness/meditation. A brief period of quiet contemplation or meditation can help calm the mind, transition from a reactive state to a proactive one, and prime your brain for focus. Clearing the runway isn't procrastination. It's a vital investment that significantly increases the likelihood of achieving deep focus and maximizing the value of your peak energy periods. 2. Mastering attention, the currency of the mind. If mental energy is the fuel, attention is the steering wheel, directing the energy towards productive ends. Kadavy emphasizes that managing attention is paramount in an increasingly distracting world. Key strategies include single tasking. Combat the myth of multitasking. Switching between tasks, even seemingly quickly, incurs a cognitive cost known as attention residue. Remnants of the previous task linger in your mind, impairing focus on the current one. True deep work requires sustained, singular focus on one challenging task. Taming distractions. This involves both external, notifications, interruptions, and internal, mind-wandering, intrusive thoughts, distractions. Clearing the runway helps with external ones. For internal distractions, acknowledge the thought without judgment and gently redirect your focus back to the task. Mindfulness practice strengthens this ability. Strategic use of focus techniques. Tools like the Pomodoro technique, working in focused intervals, typically 25 minutes, followed by short breaks, can be useful, but Kadavy advises flexibility. The goal isn't rigid adherence to the clock, but using the timer as a tool to encourage focus bursts aligned with ultradian rhythms, adjusting interval length based on the task and energy levels. Batching similar tasks. Grouping low-level administrative tasks, like answering emails, making calls, into dedicated blocks prevents them from constantly interrupting more demanding work. This leverages the appropriate, administrate, mental state efficiently. 3. Capturing ideas, freeing your mental RAM. Creative ideas and important insights often arrive at inconvenient times, in the shower, during a walk, just before sleep. Kadavy stresses the importance of having a reliable system for capturing these fleeting thoughts immediately. Why? Reduces cognitive load. Trying to hold onto ideas in your head consumes mental energy and creates anxiety about forgetting them. Offloading them to an external system frees up your mental RAM for thinking and problem solving. Fuels the generate state. Capturing ideas whenever they strike allows the generate mental state to operate freely without being constrained to scheduled brainstorming sessions. Creates raw material. These captured snippets become valuable raw material for later review, prioritization, and development during dedicated work sessions. Effective capture systems can be simple: a pocket notebook, a dedicated app like Evernote, Notion, or voice memo apps, or even just emailing yourself. The key is low friction. It must be quick and easy to capture the thought before it vanishes, and reliability. You need to trust that you will review these captured items later. 4. Structuring your work around mind states, not just time. This is where mind management principles translate directly into scheduling and planning. Energy-based scheduling. Instead of just blocking time, right from 9 to 11 a.m., schedule tasks based on anticipated energy levels and the required mental state. Example: peak energy, e.g., 9 to 11 a.m. schedule, generate, or write/draft, tasks requiring high creativity and focus. Mid-energy, e.g., 1 to 3 p.m. schedule, outline research, or edit, tasks requiring focus but perhaps less raw creative power. Low energy, e.g., 4 to 5 p.m. schedule, administrate, tasks like email, scheduling, tidying up. Mental state blocking. Be explicit about the type of thinking required. A block might be labeled, generate ideas for Project X, rather than just, work on Project X. This primes your mind for the specific cognitive mode needed. Flexibility and adaptation. Mind management isn't about rigid adherence. It acknowledges that energy levels and mental states can fluctuate unexpectedly. Be prepared to adjust your plan based on how you actually feel. If you plan to write but feel foggy, perhaps switch to an administrate task or take a break. If unexpected inspiration strikes for a different project, capture it and consider pivoting if appropriate. Weekly/daily review. Regularly review upcoming tasks and anticipate the mental states needed. Plan your week and each day with your energy cycles and required mental states in mind, allocating the right tasks to the right times. 5. The unsung power of downtime and incubation. Kadavy argues passionately against the always-on hustle culture. Rest, downtime, and periods of incubation are not signs of laziness but essential components of the creative process and sustainable productivity. Subconscious processing. Stepping away from a problem allows your subconscious mind to work on it in the background. Many aha moments occur during walks, showers, or unrelated activities, after a period of focused effort followed by disengagement. This is the explore, or incubate phase, crucial for integrating information and generating novel connections. Energy replenishment. Just as muscles need rest to recover and grow stronger, the brain needs downtime to replenish mental energy. Trying to operate at peak capacity constantly leads inevitably to burnout. Short breaks throughout the day, aligned with ultradian rhythms, and longer periods of detachment, evenings, weekends, vacations, are vital. Shifting mental states. Downtime facilitates shifting between mental states. Stepping away after an intense, session can help you return later with the fresh perspective needed for effective editing. Intentionally scheduling breaks, engaging in hobbies, getting enough sleep, and simply allowing unstructured time are critical mind management practices. 6. Overcoming resistance through mindful alignment. Procrastination and resistance often stem from a mismatch between the task's demands and your current mental state or energy level. Mind management offers a new lens. Resistance as a signal. Instead of just forcing through resistance, view it as data. Does this task feel hard because you're trying to generate work during a low energy period? Or trying to edit when you're mentally fatigued? Perhaps the task needs breaking down, or you need to shift to a different type of work better suited to your current state. Reducing friction by aligning tasks with the right mental state and energy level, and by clearing the runway, you naturally reduce the friction that often causes resistance. It feels easier to start when conditions are optimal. Minimum viable action. When resistance is high, focus on taking the smallest possible step. Minimum viable action. Just to get started. This can often break the inertia. Mind management helps you work with resistance by understanding its roots, rather than simply battling it with willpower alone. Embracing mind management as an ongoing practice. Implementing the strategies outlined in Part 2 transforms mind management from an interesting concept into a powerful, practical toolkit for enhancing creative output and overall well-being. By proactively clearing the runway, diligently managing attention, systematically capturing ideas, structuring work around mental states and energy levels, embracing the power of downtime, and using mindful alignment to navigate resistance, you can move beyond the limitations of time-based productivity. David Kadavy's Mind Management, Not Time Management, doesn't offer a magic bullet or a rigid system, but rather a flexible, human-centric approach. It recognizes that sustainable high performance, especially in fields demanding creativity and deep thought, comes from understanding and nurturing our internal mental landscape. It's an ongoing practice of self-awareness, experimentation, and adaptation. Mastering your mind, not just your schedule, allows you to tap into deeper levels of focus, produce higher quality work, reduce stress, and ultimately find more fulfillment and flow in your creative endeavors. The journey requires patience and persistence, but the rewards, work that feels less like a struggle and more like an expression of your best self, are well worth the effort. You now have a comprehensive overview of both the philosophy and the practical strategies of mind management. Don't feel overwhelmed by trying to implement everything at once. Choose one or two specific techniques from Part 2 that resonate most with you or address your biggest current challenge. Perhaps start by practicing clearing the runway before your most important work session tomorrow. Clear physical, digital, and mental space. Identifying one task and consciously scheduling it for a time you anticipate having the appropriate mental state and energy level, e.g., schedule email batching for your typical low-energy time. Setting up a simple idea capture system, a dedicated notebook or app, and using it consistently for the next few days. Taking intentional short breaks, 10 to 15 minutes, after focused work sessions, around 60 to 90 minutes. Experiment with the chosen techniques for a week. Observe the impact. Refine your approach based on your experience. Remember, mind management is a personal journey. For a deeper dive into the nuances, research, and Kadavy's personal stories, obtaining and reading the full book, Mind Management, Not Time Management, is highly recommended. Start small, stay consistent, and begin harnessing the true power of your mind.